Hello, my name is Joselyn and I'll be your host for today's episode of In the Studio. We are going to be talking about the Cross Culture Center, also known as the CCC. The CCC is located in the University of California, Davis. Our guest for today is Stephen Baissa, who is the director of the Cross Culture Center. He's going to be telling us about the CCC and how it's important to the Davis community and the students. Hello, Stephen. Welcome to In the Studio. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. I want to start off by asking you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you went to school, or where you're from.
As you said, I serve currently as director of the Cross Cultural Center. Prior to my time at Davis, I did a number of so my undergrad is from St. Olaf College in Minnesota. I have a graduate degree from the University of Minnesota and also another graduate degree from Cal State University here in Sacramento. So during that time frame, I used to work in all of those places. So, but I would say for the last 16 years, I've called UC Davis my workplace.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I want to ask you, how did you get involved with social justice, and what is social justice?
So I think my journey to the work of the Cross Cultural Center really came about because of my own experience when I was a student. And that was around how do I find community, how do I find spaces that empower me, that nurture who I am as a person, as a human being, but also who help me to excel well in my academics, and a place that acknowledges the things that I'm interested in. So that is how I found my engagement was. I started as a resident advisor, an RA, in student housing. Yeah. And then I sort of worked through that ranks and got involved in a number of work in student affairs type of work. I was a conduct officer and I was a hall director. And then after that, I got to start working in student activities and student organizations and doing some leadership development, doing a lot of work with the cultural clubs and organizations. While I was doing my MBA, I was doing a little bit of an engagement work with community work, community service type of work. And especially as an immigrant for me, I'm originally from Ethiopia. So I'm an immigrant. I guess I should have shared that with you a little bit earlier. But that was one where it made me feel like, it's important for me to be in a place where I know my talents are utilized in a way that encourages students to pursue their dreams. And so once I did a little work with student organizations and student activities, the opportunity came to apply for the directorship here at the Cross Cultural Center. And I have now served as a director at the Cross Cultural Center for about 8 years and been enjoying it ever since. So the work of social justice, and I think your question is a really powerful one, and that is really social justice can be defined many different ways. But really for me, it's really about how do I advocate for places where I have privileges, and how do I use those privileges to really speak up in places where many people's voices who are coming from marginalized, underrepresented, and underserved communities can feel like their voices can be heard in some way. Because I truly believe there is one individual can make a huge difference, and you can have an impact to that end. So it's about teach one, each one. It's how do I pay it forward? How do I make sure that students feel like they can make a big difference? And the work of the Cross Cultural Center really speaks for itself through the type of work that our students do, because we do so many different things. And so for me, it's been rewarding to engage in work that challenges, that is not simply about the status quo. It's about advocating for students when they feel they don't have a voice, challenging systems that really might be oppressive or might not be inclusive for many different communities. So I think it's important to acknowledge where is it that I can do this work collectively with the students, but ultimately my role is to make sure that I contribute to student success. So to make sure that our students are retained, they finish their education, and they actually graduate from UC Davis as they move forward to their bigger and better things as they pursue their dreams.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, you know, I think UC Davis is privileged to have the Cross Culture Center because not every campus has a Cross Culture Center,
That is correct,
right?
yes.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, like, what kind of programs are part of the Cross Culture Center? Like, what do you have? Like, I heard that there's like the peace. What other?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a number of different things we do. As the Cross Cultural Center came about because of student voice and student activism. And we actually didn't come about as a proactive measure by the campus. So it was students who felt there needed to be a space that acknowledges the cultural roots of the students that are represented at UC Davis. And there were a number of different instances and issues that happened. And so there was, very direct impact tied to racism, sexism, and homophobia. And in particular, in that time, there were a number of instances that happened with both the Spanish department, School of Law, on campus, and the students had engaged with the university and engaged in making sure that there ought to be a place. So we had the hunger strike. And the hunger strikers really felt like there ought to be a space that encourages student activism, encourages student voice, that represents student engagement. And so that's how we came about, was back in May 1990. We had the big hunger strike, right?
So the hunger strike was what started the Cross Cultural Center.
Correct.
And why the Cross Cultural Center is
Yeah.
here.
So since then to now,
Okay.
we've had a wonderful opportunity to engage in doing some of this great work.
So here's an image that we have of the hunger strike.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the image and what's going on in that particular moment?
So the picture that is on the screen currently is a picture of the demonstration that was taking place at that time back in May 1990. And obviously I was not present, and so I can't speak to an eyewitness account. But what I can share with you is the legacy that we benefit from the courageous action of these 4 amazing students.
Who were these 4 amazing students? I think the next picture should show.
Yeah,
right?
so we have, so I think it's Andrea, Gaetan, I think we have Gopal, and I think Jose Quinones, and I am going blank on the 4th one in a moment.
It's okay.
But we have those are the 4 students who are who did take that courageous step of actually taking that 5-day hunger strike on the steps of Marac Hall, which is the administrative offices for UC Davis.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So what else went on during that day aside from, like, how long? You said 5 days, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a 5-day hunger strike. It came to an end with negotiators with the university administration, the chancellor, and students sitting down to, meet the demands of the hunger strikers. And one of those demands, and they had quite a few, but one of those demands was the establishment of a cross-cultural center, a center specifically for students, that engages students, that empowers students, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and brings celebrations forward, provides educational opportunities for the campus to engage, and really to look at issues that impact, to really unpack powers of oppression and systematic, issues and policies and practices that are in place where students can come to organize, students can come to plan events, programs, and staff and career staff who will cultivate that leadership, train, and provide an opportunity for them to engage with the campus in a true co-curricular and more transformational experience.
So the Cross Cultural Center has changed locations from its previous location?
Absolutely.
And before, how long has it been? We have an image of...
Yeah. So our the little house on the prairie, as we used to call it there, is the old Ag Extension building, which is currently the home of Educational Opportunity Program. The Cross Cultural Center was located there since May 1990. The following year, it came about there about 91. From 91 until 2011.
Wow, that's a long time.
So it's about 20 years.
Yeah.
We were in that little cottage. And believe it or not, during the time when the hunger strikers were having the conversation, with the administration, they were promised a permanent location. So this was supposed to be a temporary location. So we were in our temporary location for 20 years. And eventually moved forward to where we are currently located in the Student Community Center on the first floor in this fantastic, beautiful facility. So the Student Community Center is where you see it. Yeah.
The new Cross Cultural Center, or the new location, the images. Here is the Student Community Center.
Yes, yeah, there it is. Yeah. There it is. Yeah,
that's the outside building. Of it. Yeah, and then inside, the next image is, this is how the Cross Cultural Center looks from the outside.
Correct. Right? Yes, that's our main entrance.
That's the lounge where.
That is our art lounge.
Art lounge.
Yeah, that's the art lounge where it gives us the opportunity to curate student art. And also it's an inviting and welcoming space. And the next picture that is up now is the Peace Lounge. Is also a study space. It's also programmatic space. It's named after our Peace program, which is the peer-to-peer education program. Peace stands for Peer Education and Community Empowerment. And it's students that go out to do workshops and trainings of other students at UC Davis around inclusive engagement, cross-cultural communication, ally development, and just unpacking oppression type of issues, helping people to understand issues of diversity and social justice. So that's what that space is.
Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit more about the art lounge, because you've mentioned it before?
Yeah. So the art lounge, the space is very much a student space, right? So I believe in student first, student-centered. The whole philosophy of our work is around student-centered. So the space, the art lounge, allows us to curate student art. We ask students to apply and contribute their art. And as long as their art is tied to the type of work the center does, then we are engaged in showcasing that piece of work. For however long of a period of time that the selection committee has decided. So sometimes it's up for about a month, sometimes it might be for 2 months, but it's defined by the students and the art selection committee, but we do show student art in our art lounge.
So I was wondering about how the CCC is managed or organized, like the staff members?
Sure, yeah. So we, every year, we select students in the winter quarter. We hire about 25 students on paid positions, and then we have about 100 active volunteers that are engaged in capacity of doing a number of different programs that are more like, so for example, we have 3 different core teams within the center. Earlier I mentioned the peace trainers. So there's about 12 to 14 of those folks. And then we also have a partnership with a student-run Mexican folklorico program, which is specifically, and its name is known as Danzantes del Alma. So DDA was not originally housed with us, but came in 2009 to the Cross Cultural Center. So we've benefited very much from that partnership. And so we have the board members of DDA, the peace trainers, and then we have the coordinators who do the programming and a lot of the different work with campus climate, as well as our administrative work. So we have I would say about 50 student staff and about 100 volunteers, and then those 100 volunteers work with about 400 additional planning committee members.
So aside from the staff members and everything that goes on with the Cross Culture Center, I wanted to ask you more about the exhibits. I heard that you have exhibits going on. Are they like every quarter is something different, or like every year, or how does that happen?
Well, this last fall, we were lucky to host the Smithsonian exhibit known as Indivisible, which showcased the synergy and connection of Native American and African American heritage. And not many folks know about the connections between the African American, Native American community. And that exhibit, it's a traveling exhibit from the Smithsonian, and we had it for about 2 months. And we were able to showcase it. And that was tied to also an academic symposium that we did with Native American Studies and African American Studies, which really was very well received and well attended. And so we had an opportunity to do that. So that was actually our first really foray into exhibition of like a big show.
Can anyone from the community come, or is it just inclusive to like students or?
So the center, the exhibit's open to all.
Okay.
So it's all open to the city, City of Davis, the public, anybody can come and check out the Cross Cultural Center anytime they want. Our hours are 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, Mondays through Friday, except on Friday we're open till 5, and we're not open on the weekends, on Saturday and Sunday. But Mondays through Friday, our primary purpose is to serve students. We are open during hours when students are most likely to use the center.
Okay. So now I want to talk about the Culture Days.
Sure.
Because I know those are really important, and they're coming up in
Yes,
the
they
spring.
are. We've got quite a few of them coming up, and in fact, so the Culture Days programs, as you call it, is one of many programs that the Cross Cultural Center puts on, and we have, in the Culture Days, there are 6 of them. One is Black Family Week and Black Family Day. The next one is Native American Culture Days and Powwow. Then the next one is Mixed Heritage Week. Then after that, we've got La Raza Cultural Days and Tardeada. Then we have Asian Pacific Culture Week and Asian Pacific Culture Night. Then we've got
very diverse.
Yeah, so Middle East and South Asian, Community Week. So we have a number of different communities where we highlight a number of different contributions and the celebratory nature that is also tied to all those different programs.
So we have like a flyer of the powwow can be displayed on the screen.
There it is.
And
yes.
Where do these events usually take place in UC Davis, like the campus?
So most of the events, I would say, 99% of them really take place on the campus. Okay. And in particular, because we're now blessed to have this beautiful center, the Student Community Center, we are able to do a lot of our programs in a lot of the meeting spaces upstairs. But we utilize a number of different spaces on campus. Until Freeborn's closure, we were also able to do a lot of different things for people who know Freeborn Hall. We used to do a number of different things in Freeborn, but Freeborn is no longer active because it's being renovated for seismic reasons. But the campus does provide a lot of spaces for these programs. The outside one, I would say, is really not necessarily for Culture Days, but we do have the children's workshop with Danzantes del Alma, which is where we engage with the community. But we do those workshops in a number of different spaces through classrooms and other spaces on campus.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now I would like to show the community a video of the Culture Days, which should be displayed on the screen. So the video that you just saw was a video of the cross-cultural days, which took place in last year in 2014 in the spring quarter, which was around April, in the month of April.
That's right, yeah.
So
we do a lot of our programs during the spring quarter, but this year we do our Culture Days programs actually begin February 2nd with Black Family Week. So they will be going on from February 2nd on all the way until the end of May when we begin to do our 25th anniversary celebration.
So the Black Family Day flyer is displayed on screen as of now, or?
Okay.
And you said that's taking place in February, or?
Yeah, so Black Family Week this year will take place in February, and then Black Family Day is in May.
Okay.
So those two are separated, so Black Family Day will be taking place in May this year.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other cultural day is La Gran Tardeada? Is that?
Yeah, so La Gran Tardeada is also a Saturday event, which is tied to Samana, which is La Raza Cultural Days' week-long program. But Samana will also be taking place this year in early May.
And usually during these events, we have performers?
We have a lot of different things. So we do a lot of workshops, performers, we have a children's fair, we have an arts and crafts thing, we have food, we have vendors. It's really a community-driven type of program. So the Saturday events in particular are very much for the whole campus community and the city of Davis, Woodland, Sacramento, anyone around us. So we invite anyone, and come on all, and especially kids and families. It's very family friendly. So for all three of them, I would say Powwow. In fact, I will say four. Powwow, the annual show for DDA, Tardeada, and Black Family Day, all are very family oriented events.
That's great.
Yes.
And you get to learn a little bit about the culture and
absolutely.
everything.
You get to learn a lot about the culture. I think you get to enjoy. You can ask any questions. It's really an opportunity to provide an enrichment. It's more of another educational opportunity that may not necessarily be happening in our public school. So I would suggest strongly that it would be very good for folks to engage.
And I think it's awesome how students and staff work together to create these events.
Yeah, well, our students, I mean, they do so much of the work, right? So the career staff help to bring that, to support that, but the students do a lot of the hard work, and so they're phenomenal. We have an amazing group of students. I'm blessed that I get to work with amazing students every day. So it showcases them, but Culture Days is just one of those, but there's a great opportunity for us to, it's like a lab, a living laboratory for them to live out what they enjoy and what they want to do and what they want to contribute to the university.
Now I want to ask you, how do you think the Cross Culture Center has impacted the University of California, Davis and the Davis community?
Well, you know, it's a student space first and foremost. So our charge is really about making sure that students feel like they have a home away from home. And that's really, really important to retention and a sense of belonging, and for them to feel like there is this place that they can go and hang out and be themselves. You know, with that piece also is the number of programs and workshops and the trainings and the various services that we provide really have a huge impact. I think you can pretty much really ask anyone who has taken advantage of any program that we've offered, and I would almost guess, I would probably go out on a limb and say, I think everyone would say they've had a positive experience. But that only comes because students feel that it is their space and they're empowered to make those decisions. They can plan those events themselves with support and partnership with the career staff. We are collaborators with just about anybody on campus and the community. So anyone who wants to partner with us on any kind of event or program, we welcome it. We are a space for the campus and the community. And as I mentioned, while our number one target is our students, that work cannot happen without community empowerment and community support. And so very much around community outreach and community engagement. And so that is very much all in the mission of our center.
So can you tell us a little bit about the mission statement to conclude?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, so, I mean, you know, we're born out of student activism, as I mentioned earlier. So a lot of our work is very much about honoring the past, but really celebrating the current and also acknowledging what's missing. what is not in our history books, what hasn't been taught, what do we need to unpack and help people. And so there's identity development, right? There's cultural competency, there's the academic support programs. We provide academic advising at the center. We partner with our faculty on a number of programs and partnerships. We have a faculty that's currently creating coursework that will meet the GE requirements, which is the general elective for our students. In general, sort of the work of the center is very much around about how do we transform and challenge the current curriculum work and enrich it with outside real life type of experience. Yeah. So we think of ourselves as a living laboratory for the type of work they do in the theory stuff. So we're the practice. And this May we get to celebrate our 25th birthday. So the Cross Cultural Center will turn 25 in May. Wow. And we get a chance to celebrate. We will have a program to honor our hunger strikers. We will have a gala event to celebrate. We are doing a mural. There will be a brand new mural that we're going to unveil, and we're going to highlight our some of our alumni. So it will be open to the City of Davis and anyone who would love to come and celebrate with us in May.
In May, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Stephen, so much for joining us today in the studio.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you
for coming.
You're welcome.
And if you would like to have more information about the Cross Cultural Center, how to contact Stephen, or anything about the CCC, you could visit their website displayed on the screen, which is ccc.ucdavis.edu. And if you would like any more information about Davis Media Access or watch any other episodes of In the Studio, you could visit our website at dctv.davismedia.org. And this has been Joselyn Lua. Thank you for watching In the Studio.